Welcome to the Best of Brighton. This is Table for Two with my special guest, Brian Blasfeld, and I'm Mike Tilt. Today, we're going to be talking to Brian about many things. First, we'll start out with, what year were you born, Brian?
1961.
And have you lived in Brighton all your life?
Yeah, I was born here. We originally lived on Beth Avenue in Saxony Sub.
Okay. A lot of people from Saxony, so.
Yeah. I was there only a short time. And then we moved to Mount Brighton.
Oh.
We were the first house built in Mount Brighton Sub.
Nice, nice. Now, as a kid, what kind of kid were you like? Were you a good student in school?
Yeah, I was a fair, decent student. Played baseball. Played baseball in the summer.
All the way up to high school?
Into high school for a couple of years, and then also golf in high school.
Great. Now, what position did you play in
I
baseball?
Pitched and played second base occasionally.
Great. Good deal. So, when did you get into the beer stuff?
That was when I was not in Michigan. I had gotten married, and we moved to, originally to Atlanta, then a year in Florida, but we ended up in North Carolina, in a town called Hendersonville, just south of Asheville. And we went to dinner with my wife's boss at the time, and they wanted to know if we knew how to play euchre. Because at that time in the South, not many people knew how to play euchre, and since we were from the North, and they were, we went there to go play euchre.
Okay.
And we got there for dinner, and his wife goes, "Would you like to have a beer I made?" And I went, "You made beer?" So this was now early 90s, probably 92.
This was before it became popular making
Yeah,
beer.
yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, Brian has his own brewery right in his backyard. So just to clarify that.
Which is where we are.
Exactly.
And so she gave me a beer that she had made. I tasted it, and I must have said to her 3 times, "You made this.
Right.
You really made this." I asked how. She showed me the book she bought and told me where she went and bought the ingredients. The next day I did, and I would say within a year, I opened up a homebrew shop in Hendersonville, North Carolina, downtown. And we sold supplies and taught people how to brew beer.
Wow. So did it go further into just doing that? Were you planning on having a place of your own and having your own bar?
Yes. We were planning on that, and then unfortunately family issues, or however, no blame to anybody or whatever, we ended up moving back to Michigan. Sold the store and that's how I ended up back here in Michigan.
And what year was that?
That was 1997 we came back. So, it's funny, I had no intentions of ever coming back out. No,
Not even for a reunion?
No, I really was in love with North Carolina. Both my kids were born there, so
Okay.
both the kids were born in Nashville. And so we came back, and about 10 years later, 9 years later, I ended up getting a divorce, but everything worked out amicably, and so and
your kids are here?
yeah. I'm
So
even
did they
a
come with
grandpa.
you at the time that you moved back?
We all came back.
Okay.
I was, and then when I got divorced, it was an amicable split, and the kids were in both places, and we did the best we could in continuing their raising them and that. So, but so
And you've been here ever since?
we've been here ever since. Yeah.
Okay, when did you add on? This is actually a garage, the second garage that's
Well, that's what.
house.
Yeah, this is behind the house. my current, my girlfriend Kim, who I've been with now for 15 years, she knew I had when we met, our actual first date was in a brewery at the old Michigan Brewing in Weberville.
Nice.
That's where we had our first date. And so, you know, we got together and we started developing a relationship and ended up moving in together, rented a house in this neighborhood. And then when the lease was up, the house we're in now came for sale, so
Right.
I bought it. But she knew I brewed. She wanted, you know, I would brew occasionally in the driveway and that, and I said, I want to build something.
Right.
And she finally, she said, it was funny, she goes, you keep talking, why don't you do it? And she kind of, not forced my hand, but she kind of said, stop talking about it, do
Let's
it.
do it.
So we went, the company that my brewery comes from, they're in Toledo. So we drove down there, I looked at the equipment, put the down payment on, and from there we said, okay, well now I need a place to put this in.
Right.
And because it came in May, and we started building this building in May. So this building was not here. So we just did it, and with friends and ourselves, we built this. And
Looks very nice.
it's you know, it's heated, it's got a bathroom, it's got its own Wi-Fi, and we got TV in here. We were in here yesterday. One of the neighbors came over, and my son was here, and we watched the Lions debacle.
Yeah, we won't go into
So, but yeah, I've been doing this now for 28 years,
Nice.
and it's.
And you
it-
must be the favorite neighbor, I
Well,
would take it.
you know, it's interesting. This neighborhood has lots of places you can go visit, and that's one of the
Uh-huh.
reasons we ended up staying in this neighborhood too, which is
Right.
really nice.
Everybody gets along well.
So yeah, it's a great neighborhood, and it seemed to work out that a lot of people moved into this neighborhood long before we were here and raised their kids, and they're still here, but they're our age.
Right.
So, you know, it's kind of nice. And we do have an influx of some younger families coming into the neighborhood, which is nice too. So, but yeah, I've been brewing. I've entered tons of competitions and things like that. And I have my greatest reward is a bronze medal in the World Championships. That's
Nice.
the
Where did you get that?
2015. It's the National Homebrew Competition. It's the biggest homebrew competition in the world, and you have to go through regional competitions to get to the finals. Made it to the finals, and lo and behold, I actually took a bronze medal in the
Nice.
for a California Common, which is similar to a steam beer. It's called.
Great. Well,
So,
congratulations.
Thank you.
Take us through the process of making beer. Is it time consuming, or is it something that
When I brew, it's about a 6-hour process, and that is just the brewing. Depending on the style of beer I'm brewing, it can be anywhere from 2 to say 4 weeks before the beer is on tap to drink. But the process basically is heating water, mixing it with grain. You go through what's called a mash, and then you put hot water over the top of the mash, and you force the water through that mash, and you gather it all up into the brew kettle, and then you go through the boil process, adding hops. Then you boil it for about 75 minutes is normally what I do, and then you chill it down. You get it into glass carboys is what I use to ferment in. Pitch my yeast into that, and then it ferments. And I do have to control that temperature while it ferments.
and how long is that?
Generally the fermentation's about 10 days is what I end up doing. And then it goes into a secondary fermenter, and then it'll sit there in temperature controlled in the coolers that are back here for anywhere from, a week to weeks can go by. I just put a new lager on tap this weekend. It is that sat for 5 weeks before it went into the keg.
Wow.
So, and I tell you what, it's fantastic.
Great. So what do you do with all this beer? You drink it all?
Yeah, not me personally, but friends and so, and then we generally have, right now we have anywhere from minimum of 4 and up to 7 different things on draft.
Wow.
I also we'll get a cider on draft. We have one right now, but we'll have a new one coming with it being apple season here in Michigan.
Right.
In a couple weeks, the brew club I belong to, some of us are going to a local cider mill, and I'm going to get 5 gallons of cider, and we'll make a hard cider.
Okay.
So
Now, how does that process work? Do
that's
you make the beer first? Or?
No, the cider is kind of like wine making. You're going to just get it ready, pitch the yeast, and ferment it. So that doesn't go through the brewing process. The actual brew process here, for me, is about a 6-hour. If I start at 7 o'clock in the morning, I'm usually done, cleaned up by 1:30, to where it looks like this when I start, and it looks like that when I'm done.
Great.
As I've told people, they'll say, well, I'd like to brew beer. Can I do? I said, do you like to clean? Because if you don't enjoy cleaning, basically, I would say 80% of what you do is cleaning. Yeah, you're always keeping your stuff clean and just, you're cleaning. Because, once you use all these tanks, they got to be clean. They got to, everything is kept clean so you can make good beer.
Right, and you're just running basically what, just hot water, or do you have something that?
This is a clean in place, and I do have a not a chemical, but I guess it's a chemical that you mix with the hot water, and I run it through the system for about 20 minutes, and it cleans everything, and then you do a cold water rinse, and we're cleaned up and ready to go next time.
There you go.
So, but it is by far one of my passion, I would guess. So I just absolutely love doing it.
How old were you when you first started drinking beer? I mean, that you really just, you had that, you had that first beer.
Well, let's say it's not 21. So, growing up in a German family, beer was never
Never short on beer.
No, and it was not considered taboo.
Right.
So, to have a beer with my dad when I would probably say, 15 years old, somewhere in that, definitely before, and we would go to Germany as when I was a little in that age also,
Right.
and it's okay to have a beer with your dad or something.
You probably have relatives too, like I did, who have a sip. Here I am, 11 or 12 years old, and my grandmother's saying, have a sip, it's good for you. I'm like, okay.
It was never, beer and alcohol was never, made taboo. It was there, I was fortunate to grow up in a nice home.
Mm-hmm.
We had my dad, a good neighborhood. My dad also had the basement had a pool table and a bar in it, and I can remember as we were in high school, there were a few evenings and times when my folks would have a gathering and a couple friends would come over, and us young guys thought we could take on the old men in shooting pool, and we'd shoot pool for who had to go get the beer. So
your dad wasn't into making beer?
No.
So you just had a love for beer. Say your family.
Yeah.
German family.
German family, German beer. So I had an opportunity when I was working I worked for a German company in Howell, and had to go to Germany, and the owner of the company, he knew I brewed beer, and he had come to visit us here, and he tasted some of my beer and he was impressed. And he said, well, when you come, I'll take you. There is a brewery in the town where the company I used to work for was, and it was a 500-year-old brewery. And
wow.
He got to go, he was friends with the owner. He grew up with the owners. And so I got to go spend a morning with the owner of this 500-year-old brewery and walk through the the brewery. That was one of the coolest things
Nice.
ever for a guy who likes beer and brewing.
There you go. Yeah, we did that. Our folks took us to Slits. I can't
Yeah.
remember exactly where it was. I think it was someplace in Florida. But it was a factory where they made it, and they took us through, and I must have been probably about 12 or 13. And remember we got little sample bottles. Obviously they were empty, but little bottles that I still
Yeah.
have today in my bar, and you know, something that you remember as a kid, and it was a fun time. So, well, for Brian and I, we're going to sign off now, and I want to thank Brian for taking his time
Yeah.
and showing us, you know, what it takes to have your own brewery at home
Yeah.
or in your garage.
And any of our friends here are always welcome to come visit.
Great, very good.
So.
Thank you for watching Table for Two.
Big Cheese Productions is automobilia at its finest with unbeatable prices, hard-to-find pieces, and museum-quality restorations. They offer a wide range of products such as gas pumps, signs, fiberglass statues, automobilia, neon globes, and much more. Turn your establishment into a showroom today. Check out Big Cheese Productions at BigCheesePetro.com, preserving history one piece at a time.